Hi everyone, it's me Darlene. I'm so excited. We are going to be doing a quilt block together today, and it's not a crazy quilt block on a foundation. I have been doing that for like 3 or 4 months. For those of you who did follow my quilt block party series, I still want to wrap that one up. I haven't decided yet what I want to do, but I will wrap it up. But I want to get this video out there now because I'm anxious to do it. We are going to be making a Wonky 9-patch block. Now you may have seen these. There are tons of videos on them and I have watched all of them. Not quite. By far not quite. Normally what people do is you take 9 different pieces of fabric and you cut them and then you swap the pieces out. When you sew all those 9 pieces together, each block, you end up with 9 blocks. Each block is made up of 9 mini pieces and none of those pieces are repeated in the block. I'm going to do it a different way. I am going to do it in a way that we only have to sew 4 seams total to make our Wonky 9-patch block. And I practiced this using construction paper of 9 different colors and it worked. Now let's just hope I can remember what I did and that we can recreate that with fabric. So I'm going to take you over to the sewing table and we're going to just get started. You are going to need 9 different prints. You can make the blocks any size you want. I'm using 100% cotton that came from my aunt's stash of fabric. These are all tiny prints. It's not something I would normally work with, but I want to be able to use this fabric. So that's what I'm going with. I have 9 different prints. So I'm going to press these and I'm going to show you how I cut my squares. Just to show you, I opened the fabric and I only pressed this part. That's the only part that I need pressed. And I'm going to be stacking my 9 fabrics there. I have a pressed corner right here. And I'm going to just somewhat line those corners up. And I'm going to stack all my 9 prints this way. Then when I cut my blocks, I'll have them all cut out at once. So I have my 9 fabrics stacked up, one on top of the other. We want to cut the block at least an inch bigger than the finished block that you want. We do have some seam allowances, so that will make the block a little bit smaller. Also, we don't want to worry about having to cut this so precise that let's just go ahead and cut it bigger. Then when the block is made, you can square up your block. So I want a 10-inch block finished product, no smaller than that. I'm thinking 11. If I cut 11 inches, that will be big enough, but I'm going to go ahead and cut 11 and a half. And that'll give me room for the block to shrink by when we put the pieces together, and then I can trim it to maybe a 10.5-inch block after. So I'm going with 11. I'm going to make sure that I cut all my selvages off, and I'm just scissor cutting, not a rotary. And right now I'm cutting extra generous, like maybe 12, as I just want to get this off all the other fabric, then we'll trim it. Now I need to fold all this stuff back up. Okay, so let's go maybe 11 and a half I could go with. I'm going to try 11 and a half. I am sorry, I'm completely off camera. My blocks are approximately 11 and a half. I absolutely will certainly get a 10-inch block out of that when we're done. So we have 9 blocks. Now this little bit of waste, that can totally go into a quilt, so I'm not throwing that away. You know I'm not. Here we go, folks. We're going to start the cutting. We are going to be cutting like tic-tac-toe fashion, only we're going to make our lines crooked. Let me start by just showing you the angle. Like tic-tac-toe would be a line like here and here, but we're going to do like a line like this and then a line like this. But see, we wouldn't want to be this close to the edge because we need room to sew. So maybe like that would be better. So let's just start by doing 1 cut that way. And if you want to use your ruler, you can. You know, it certainly makes it easier. I don't think my rotary cutter is going to go through that, even with a good blade. Oh, I don't know, maybe it will. What do you know? I did it! Okay, so there's 1 cut. And now I'm going to do this other one at an angle also. But I want to make sure that I have enough fabric here and up here. So we're just going to tilt it like this. I am going to do that. Alright, totally can cut through 9 layers of fabric. Took a little break, I am back. Here is how we make the magic happen. You have your 3 sections that we cut. For this section, take the top fabric and put it at the bottom. Just like that. Take one off, make sure you have just the one. Put it underneath. In the center, count 2. 1, 2. Take 2 off the top. Lay them down. Put this over it. That's it. You don't touch this one. So you take 1 off, put it under. You take 2 off, put it under. Now we're going to take this one, and this one, and we're going to the machine and we're going to sew these 3 together. I brought my 3 pieces over with me. Obviously, I don't want to lose the order, but it doesn't matter which 2 you sew together first. So I'm just going to push this piece aside. I'm going to sew these 2 together. So I'm going to put right sides together. And I'm going to match up my corners. Doesn't have to be perfect. But it can get confusing as to how you're supposed to put the fabric, because you can see this doesn't line up. It's not going to, because we cut at an angle. Same as down here. This is not lining up. So as long as you have these 2 straight lines matched up with the corners together, you're good. I'm going to sew with 1/4 inch. I just use the edge of my foot. Obviously, if you use like a wider seam allowance, like a 1/2 inch, your block is going to be a little bit smaller. I'm using about 1/4 inch. And you're just going to sew all the way down. Now I'm going to be putting this piece on here. And I like to sew with my fabric to the left of me, so I'm going to turn it. Going to match up my corners and my straight edge. Now I'm going to go press these seams flat first to set the seam, and then I will open it, and I'm going to press with my seams to the side. I usually just press here and flatten this way. You do not need to open up your seams. And we end up with a block that looks like this. I am going to turn this block upside down, and I'm going to put it aside. I'm going to make the next block, put that upside down, and put it on top of this one. I'm actually going to wait and sew all the blocks, and then I will press them. I did press this one, and you can see I pressed with my seams going out to the side. But just to save myself a lot of getting up, I'm just going to go ahead and finish all my blocks, and then I will press them all at once. But let me show you just one more. I'm going to take this piece, and this piece. I'm going to sew those 3 together, and I will do it off camera this time. And I've decided I am going to press each one as I go, because I don't want to get confused with restacking these. So I just did this second one. I am going to flip it upside down and put it on my upside down stack. And I'm just going to move this over. And I'm just going to continue until I'm done all the pieces. And as soon as I'm done, I will come back and show you what we do next. So here's my stack upside down. This is the top piece that we started with. Now we need to straighten these up a little bit. I'm going to flip it upside down again. I'm going to take one. I'm going to take the next one. And just about as good as I can, lay it down. Remember, all the squares are getting trimmed after, so don't obsess about perfection. And if things are off kilter a little bit, that just makes it that much more wonkier. Okay, we're ready to make 2 more cuts. Now see, we've only done 2 seams so far on this 9-patch block. We are going to be doing 2 more. It's only 4 seams total for each block. That's pretty cool. And this is a great block for those of you who have a harder time being random. This does all the randomness for you. So let's turn. And when you're picking your 9 fabrics, don't be overly concerned about are they all going to go together. If you're making a quilt, it's all going to work, I promise you. So now we're going to turn and we're going to make 2 more cuts like we did before. You know, think of almost like an A shape, only, you know, you're not closing the A at the top. And once again, you don't want to cut too close to an edge, but let's see. I'm going to go, oh, it's so scary. I'm going to go like this for this side. And now you do have to cut through those stitched parts. So you know what? I'm just going to go in with my scissors to finish that off. It's hard to cut through those seams. Ooh, I didn't leave too much fabric there, but that's okay. It'll work. Let's go this way for this one. It's probably better off to just use scissors going in this direction. Now we have 3 sections that look like that. It's almost like candy corn, only the wrong colors. This time we're going to start here, just like before. This time we're going to count 3. 1, 2, 3. Lay them down, put this on top. This one we're counting 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just take those off, lay them down, put these on top. Now you'll see no 2 fabrics match. And that's going to be that way through the entire stack. How cool is that? It is so super cool. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to the machine. We're going to take this one, and this one, and we're going to sew them together. How exciting is this? So I have my 3 pieces here. I'm going to sew these 2 together first. I'm just going to move that one aside. Same thing. You're lining up these 2 edges like that. And don't worry about matching up with those seams. You don't have to worry about that. It isn't going to happen. Sew down the edge. Now I'm opening it. I'm going to add this one. But I like to work with my fabric to the left, so I am going to go like this, and I'm going to turn it. I'm going to line up my corners and my edge. I'm not worried about matching up those seams. Now I'm going to go press this. And this is my first block completed. And let's see. I would be able to square that up to 10 inch. So I started with like 11.5. So I would say definitely plan on making your original block 1.5 inches, even 2 inches bigger than the block you're ending with. And then that gives you room to square it up. I do want to show you that, see, the corners will not match up. And that's not because you're doing something wrong. They will not match. Well, this one actually kind of matches. But they're not meant to because of the way we did the cutting. If you want your corners to match up perfectly, you would have had to have a pattern for each of these pieces and add a seam allowance to each one. But we don't do that for this method. It's quick and easy. As soon as I'm done sewing these together, and it doesn't take long, I will have made 9 quilt blocks. 9! So let me finish this up and then we'll talk a little bit about it. So here's the deal. I just love this so much. I love the whole process. What we end up with is 9 blocks. Each block has one of the 9 patterns. Nothing is duplicated in the block. And we didn't have to do any figuring out. You just had to count the way I counted when we cut the stacks and then put some fabrics under. That's what does that for you. No 2 blocks are alike, yet they all match because they're made with the same 9 fabrics. Now, when you would use these blocks in a quilt, you don't have to have them all going in the same direction. Obviously, these would be squared up, and you could turn this one this way. Actually, you would want to do that. You want it to be as wonky as possible. Maybe this one goes this way. Maybe this one goes this way. And so on and so on. Now, I think I will turn this into a series. I wasn't sure. But I would like to go ahead in the next video, square these up and sash them and put them together and at least make a quilt top. My quilt will be very little because I'm not interested in making more blocks. But you could do the same process with as many blocks as you need for whatever size quilt you are making. If you were to make more blocks for the same quilt, you have a lot of choices. You could use the exact same 9 fabrics. I would layer them in a different order, and then obviously the cuts will be a little bit different. You would have 9 more blocks that match these fabrics, but again, no 2 would be alike. That would be really cool. Or you could go with 9 totally different fabrics, or you could use some of these fabrics, but stick a few different colors in there. So you can make as many blocks as you want. But I will go ahead, so subscribe if you don't want to miss that. I can't promise when, but I would like to square these up, put some sashing. I think that it would be so cool. I don't know what I would put for a sashing yet. I think I would go with a print that's not in any of these blocks. So we'll do that next. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you like this block, and I'll be back with more soon. Bye! I have no clue exactly how I'm going to finish this, but I would like to turn it into a mini quilt. And I'm thinking maybe a quilt as you go block. I might turn it into that, just not sure. But I'm excited to get started. I'm thinking this will end up being a 3-part series.